Hey yo, everybody! Angel Arts here, and welcome to Let's Play the Dark Pictures anthology, Man of Medan. I am here with one of my very good friends and buddies, XEI, also known as Shay. Hey Shay.
Hello, everybody. How's it going?
Hello, and welcome, and thank you for hanging out with me today, Shay.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun and nerve-wracking, I'm sure. So,
Yes, yes. So before I fully get a chance to introduce Shay to you, I thought I would start by explaining to all of you viewers out there what this game is, if you've never heard of it. The Dark Pictures Anthology, Man of Medan or Medan, I don't know yet how it's pronounced. This is brought to you by the same people who created Until Dawn, which is a heavily choice-based horror game. And for those of you who know me at all, you know that horror is not my cup of tea by any stretch of the imagination. And to my understanding, it's not really Shay's major cup of tea either. So I definitely, despite the fact that I do not particularly enjoy scary things in general, I do enjoy a very good story, and I do enjoy compelling characters, and I definitely enjoy story-based games that give you choices that have consequences. And I had avoided playing Until Dawn for the longest time, and all my viewers kept saying, just trust me, just play it, you'll love it, you'll play it. And I finally did, and it ended up being one of my personal favorite games to Let's Play of all time. So if any of you are curious about that experience of mine, I'll put a link somewhere above and also in the description below for my Until Dawn. But anyway, the same idea that they did in that game is going to be used now in the Dark Pictures anthology, Man of Medan. Again, you have a chance to play through the game with different characters, and different choices that you do with those characters will determine the fate, especially who lives and who dies, which I am super excited about. So that's just to give you a little bit of a taste of to what exactly this is, if this is something that you would be interested in. But enough of my ramblings. I wanted to allow my guest of honor, XEI, to explain to us who you are. XEI, what do you do on your channel, and anything and everything that you want to tell us about yourself.
sure thing. So, yeah, my name is Nuno Shea, Nuno XEI, and I do Let's Plays as well. I kind of found Hark because of Let's Plays, and we sort of play the same games, and we sort of ramble on a lot when we play these games. So, if that's not sort of your cup of tea, I know Hark talks about this in his Let's Plays when he opens up. So I'll just go ahead and talk for both of us here. We sort of derail very regularly, whether it's about character or about plot or whatever. So if you enjoy that sort of thing, then of course stick around. We'd love to have you. But if that's not your cup of tea, you just want us to get going with the tension and the stress and the horror gameplay, then you might be able to find that somewhere else. But of course, we don't want you to leave. We want you to watch our co-op Let's Play. I think it's going to be an interesting, unique perspective because we do break down a lot of stuff, and we hope to kind of have that exchange be part of the experience. So there
Yeah.
you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I tell my viewers that I cater to a very specific audience. So if you feel like you might find yourself being the kind of viewer who might be saying things like, just shut up and play the game already, this is probably not the Let's Play for you. But if you enjoy people who are very analytical, we're very analytical. We love to talk about everything and anything under the sun about what we're experiencing and the game, and we take our time. That's the thing, we take our time through a game. This is not a super long game because it's divided up, it's an anthology, so it's divided up into individual stories. I think this one is technically around 4 to 5 hours long if you play it one player. And but we definitely when I was trying to decide who I wanted to co-op this, because this is a co-op game, unlike in Until Dawn, which is what really intrigued me. about this game specifically is that there are many ways you can play this game. Obviously, you can play it single player, just like the original Until Dawn game. There is also a way for you to play it on the couch co-op, so people in the room with you. You can play with up to 5 players, and what you do is every time it's your character's turn, because each person gets assigned a character, you pass the controller around to that person, and they record the choices that each player made with their character. And in addition to that, which is what Shay and I are doing, there is a online co-op mode, shared story mode, where 2 players online can play simultaneously in parallel to each other, which I think is going to be fascinating because I will be recording my perspective. You can check out everything from Shay's perspective, because there are going to be moments, from what I understand, where our characters could split up and be doing completely different things at the same time. And Shay and I will probably mute each other out so that we all can do our own thing. And then when we finally get back together, we'll get back together. So hopefully that sounds interesting for you. This is definitely something that I think will be interesting for us because we've never played a game like this before. And when I was trying to figure out who I would let's play this with, because I have a lot of friends that I've grown to love and enjoy all throughout the years, but Shay in particular was the person I thought to, because I thought he would be the person who wouldn't mind and even would rival my sudden ramblings and over-analysis of things. And I figure, it would have to be with him, if anything, just because I think we would be super compatible, versus if he did this with somebody else who was not as big into analyzing things, or vice versa. So
Yeah, and it's fair to say that Hark and I we're definitely blind, so we have no idea of how that parallelism is going to happen when that perspective changes. So we're going to have to figure that out as we go, I think, in some part. So hopefully it doesn't get too disruptive to the gameplay, and it'll be smooth. We'll figure it out. But yeah, just keep that in mind. And Hark obviously doesn't need to be hearing. I when I get stressed out, I might get potty mouth. So I just want to make sure that stays outside of Hark's channel as much as possible. I'll try to control myself.
No, I don't care. Like,
Okay.
I don't mind other people doing whatever. Like, that's just more of a me personal thing. So it's nothing to do with anyone else. Nothing to do with anyone else. So anyway, so we're gonna try our very best to, put in our 2 cents when it makes sense. Our 2 cents when it makes sense. So we're not going to go out of the way to just, like, if something's major is happening in the plot or there's a really deep scene, we're not going to just, interrupt it unless there's a way for us to pause. But even then, we'll probably, like, let a scene play out unless there's something that we really feel is timely. We're going to do our best just to make sure that when we do start having our analysis that it makes sense. One of the things that Shay mentioned, which I thought was intriguing, is that when we do split up, the game somehow paces itself to wait for the other person. Like, what was it that you were telling me?
Yeah, and so because I researched a little bit, because we needed to know how we were going to capture this stuff and how we were going to plan around this stuff. So I did listen to a quick breakdown of how the co-op play works. There's a video out there with like maybe 2 or 3 minutes worth that explains that somehow the game knows that when you go into your perspective, the other player is running their other perspective, and it is sort of in sync, and the scenes are timed out in a way, they're padded in a way where when, let's say, I'm making a decision, Hark will know that I think there's something that appears in the top of the screen that says Shay is making a decision, and if it's my perspective, Hark is making a decision. So we know that the game is sort of delayed, or that particular scene, I don't know, we might get like characters looking around like thinking for too long because we're actually waiting for the other player to make the decision, and then the game will go in parallel again, and it will eventually meet back up when we come back together as characters, and then it'll tell that single narrative from our perspective. So yeah, it's kind of intriguing. I'm very curious, but it could introduce some complications with the way this lines up.
Yeah.
Um, I'll talk about it a little bit too. Like after the gameplay, Hark and I will. I mean, we haven't really figured out this either. This again, we're trying to figure this out. But the idea that after we play the game, we'll try to figure out a way to create a video where we'll have the parallel scenes take place, and maybe we'll do some commentary on that. We'll like look at each other's scenes and break that down and see, like, what Hark was thinking when I was doing something, like, because those perspectives might actually matter to the narrative. But again, perspective matters, and so if I don't know anything and Hark does, that's kind of a fun thing for both of us to discover even after we play the game. There's a lot of interesting things here. Also, we don't know how the character delegation works. Like, I don't know if it's a character choice thing, or if the game just sort of puts Hark in someone's shoes and then me in another, like, and that's arbitrary. Like, we don't know, so that's also something to keep in mind. We're going to try to keep everyone alive, but we don't know how all of this plays out.
Yeah, I should probably point that out, just so people know what they're expecting from this game. Is that our goal is to try our very best to keep everyone alive. Hopefully, we get genuinely attached to the characters. Going into Until Dawn, I wasn't sure if I would actually like all these teenagers, but I actually did. I fell in love with them, flaws and warts and all. So hopefully that the same happens here, and we are invested in trying to save everybody. But we're not going to promise it that that's going to happen, because this is blind.
Yeah.
But that is what we're going to try, and maybe, at least for me, my plan is to, if we don't manage to keep everybody alive, I will probably replay this game and record myself replaying the game, trying to get the quote-unquote perfect ending. The last thing I wanted to tell people, and again, if you're like, wow, these people really do talk a lot. Yeah, we do.
This is the intro.
This is just the intro. So if you're already like dozing off now, this is going to be a very long Let's Play for you if you don't find any of this interesting. But our approach to this game, I asked Shay, are you approaching this game trying to accurately role play your character as if you think that is how they would behave or act in character? Or, which is the way that I played Until Dawn, or would you try to role play as a disembodied entity, like a disembodied guardian spirit that is nudging the characters to do certain things to try to keep them alive? And so that's the approach that I'm going into this with. Is like, what are your thoughts about that, Shay?
Yeah, and I will align with that just so that there's some consistency. I'm a huge fan of story breakdown. Hark is big on character story as well, but you know what I'm saying? Like, we have a sort different perspectives on what we sort of ramble on about. So from my perspective, if I'm not going to take a purely RP perspective, which is difficult with two players because my perception of a character is not likely going to be Hark's perception. We align on many things, but we don't always align on character breakdowns. So we're going to have to take that sort of storyteller approach the game that way, like Hark said, be the guardian angel for these characters to try to get to the end. So
yeah. All right. Well, any last words before we dive in?
I think all the words are done. I think we're about to dive in, literally.
All right.
And
Yes. All right.